This band member was fired, with the group making millions off his work, while this guitarist walked away from peak fame because of a frontman's ego. These are more rock stars that hate each other, and we gotta start with one of the most famous rivalries of all time. Back in the late 80s, Guns N' Roses were one of the biggest and most successful bands on the planet, but little did people know, Axl and Slash were clashing over everything behind the scenes. Creative direction, control, and most importantly, the future of the band. See, Axl wanted things done his way. I'm not interested in compromising to make people happy. I'm interested in making the music I want to make. However, this attitude only pushed the band closer to collapse. By the early 90s, Steven Adler had been fired, Izzy Stradlin quit, and the tension between Axl and Slash was at a breaking point. Their next album got delayed as the two fought about everything from covers to original music, and that's when Axl's ego became too much. In 1996, Slash walked away from the band, totally shocking the rock world. He claimed that Axl ran the band like a dictator, and in a shocking twist, it was revealed that Axl secured the legal rights to the Guns N' Roses name. This made fans absolutely furious, and it wasn't just Slash who left. Duff McKagan also took a break shortly after, leaving Axl as the only original member of the band, and he somehow kept going like nothing happened. Now, for nearly a decade, Slash and Axl didn't speak, but in 2005, Slash claims to have showed up at his house unannounced. He wanted to try to patch things up, but he was quickly sent away and only able to leave a note behind. Whatever he wrote, though, clearly wasn't enough, because in a 2009 interview, Axl was still bitter. Personally, I consider him a cancer, better removed and avoided. And the less anyone heard from him or his supporters, the better. At this point, fans pretty much lost hope that the two would ever reunite, but then it was announced that Guns N' Roses would be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Surely, this would bring the duo back together, right? Well, Axl refused to show up.
The former band's frontman says he is not attending and is even declining his induction into the hall. He wrote a letter saying it would avoid what would be a, quote, complicated or awkward situation. Axl doesn't even want to be inducted at all.
It was clear by now that the feud was permanent, but then in 2016, something changed. Rumors circulated that Axl and Slash made peace with each other, which seemed super bizarre, but soon everything would make sense. Shortly after, the Not in This Lifetime tour was announced, one of the biggest rock reunions in history. After decades of silence, it wasn't words that brought them back together, it was the $600 million tour. And while the two did share a stage, since then, they haven't exactly been close. Slash admitted they don't hang out or talk outside the band, and to this day, they still haven't done a single interview together since the 90s. In the early 80s, Metallica was just finding their sound, but they already had one of the most aggressive guitarists on the scene, Dave Mustaine. The dude genuinely had insane talent, but there was a problem. Dave partied way too much. While Lars and James were grinding in rehearsals, Dave would often show up drunk, late, and even start fights with the other band members. So in 1983, he was fired out of the blue, but also slandered for many years to come.
The quotes that I was never meant to be in here anyways, it was just filling a spot, I was just a temporary guy, I was a fucking loser and a drunk, I got kicked out. All the horrible things that were said immediately after my firing. I agree, I should have been fired because I was dangerous because of my disease. But watching for so many years, the band continue to become successful and successful and successful, and us to never address, the way that I was let go.
And Metallica didn't even fly him home. Dave was given a Greyhound ticket back to California with no second chance or warning.
My God, Lars, you guys woke me up and said, you know what, you're out. And I asked you, what, no warning? I said, no second chance? And you guys said, no, go.
And that pain that Dave felt only got worse. Even after he was fired, Metallica continued to use his riffs, while Dave watched from the sidelines, furious he didn't get proper credit.
The thing that bothered me the most was I had all my music, and I left it behind, and I said, don't use my music, and of course they did.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they used it on the first record, on the second record, there's parts of my music on a song on the third record. All the solos on the first record are mine, except that they're just performed by Kirk, and close, but not the same.
But on the other hand, Metallica didn't exactly let this go either. Hetfield constantly took shots at Dave, from poking fun at Megadeth.
Anything else that you guys want to say about Megadeth?
They're all right. No.
To straight up making fun of his voice.
Yeah, that's Dave. So, yeah.
Just like my life.
James often dismissed Dave's playing, implying he wasn't on their level. However, Dave threw this right back at him.
I like James. Lars, I can take or leave. I mean, I think that the whole world kind of looks at it like that too. He's not a good drummer. He really isn't. Any good drummer will tell you that he's not. And their success, you know what? A lot of it is based off of me, so.
Now, many years would go by without any drama, but then in 2010, something insane happened. The Big Four tour was announced, bringing together Metallica, Anthrax, Slayer, and Megadeth. This was the first time Dave Mustaine and Metallica shared a stage in decades, and they did not disappoint. And while fans saw this as closure, there was no joint interview, no on-camera reconciliation, and once the tour ended, the feud went quiet. But then almost a decade later in 2022, James Hetfield did something unexpected on stage. I wasn't feeling good before I came out here, feeling a bit insecure, like I'm an old guy, can't play anymore. Now Dave saw this and genuinely could relate, so much so that he actually texted Hetfield to bury the hatchet. James, I love you, and I really like your playing. Dave said James never responded, but went on to give him glowing praise in the same interview. I must remind you that when I joined Metallica, James did not play guitar. He just picked it up and started playing when I was in the band. But let's be honest, James is one of the best metal guitar players in the world. Since then, James and the other Metallica members haven't spoken about Mustaine, which has left fans wondering, will they ever truly make up? When Sammy Hagar first joined Van Halen in 1985, it seemed like the perfect match. The band was bigger than ever, Sammy brought a whole new vocal range, and their albums together were even going platinum. However, behind the scenes, things were extremely hostile. See, Eddie Van Halen had always steered the direction of the band, but Sammy was also very headstrong. He was a businessman, had successful solo projects, and would constantly push back on Eddie's ideas. And this got so bad that by 1996, Sammy would leave the band. Now, almost immediately, both sides pointed fingers. Sammy said the band was dysfunctional, while the Van Halen brothers claimed he was impossible to work with.
You felt he didn't give 100% effort.
Put it this way.
No judgment, no judgment. Just a fact.
No, wait a minute. Bottom line, his work ethic sucked. Okay? Now, if he wanted to be in this band and be a team player, he would be here right now.
Quite a few years went by with fans assuming that the feud was over, until 2004 proved otherwise. Out of nowhere, the band announced a full-blown reunion tour with Sammy on vocals. It sounded like a total dream, but behind the curtain, Hagar said this tour was a disaster. What happened on that reunion tour in 2004 was some of the most miserable, backstabbing, dark crap I've ever been involved with in my whole life. And I would never go through that again with anybody or for any amount of money. And it wasn't just clashing egos this time. Hagar wanted to promote his tequila company to fans, which rubbed Eddie the wrong way. And at the time, Sammy said he was already in rough shape.
Eddie was completely whacked out off the charts on alcohol and drugs, and poor guy, I mean, he was really in bad shape. I thought he was gonna die. Go on YouTube and listen to the 04 reunion song. You couldn't even recognize the song.
Eddie was reportedly drinking straight from the bottle, missing part of his tongue because of a cancer scare, and missing rehearsals. And at one point this got so bad that Sammy and their bassist were even taking different flights and staying in separate hotels. Now, once this tour was over, Sammy unloaded a lot of this resentment inside of his memoir. He described Eddie as unkempt, hunched over, frighteningly skinny, and claimed the band was barely functioning. However, Eddie was quick to fire back. Every word Sammy said about me is complete bullshit. To fans, this was brutal to watch unfold, and it wasn't long before things got even more complicated. Eddie's health took a rapid decline, with Hagar regretting how things ended between the two. He claimed to have called Eddie after years of silence, with Eddie's first words being, "What took you so long?" Now, the two were luckily able to reconnect before Eddie passed, with Sammy saying, "If Eddie would have passed without reconciliation, I'd think about it forever. I'm so glad he didn't have to take it to his grave, and I don't have to take it to mine. That's a big deal." Now, a lot of people don't talk about this, but back in 1991, Billy Corgan and Courtney Love used to be more than friends. They actually dated, wrote music together, and Billy even helped her band Hole land their first record deal. However, this did not last. See, their personalities heavily clashed, with the relationship ending pretty quickly. But somehow the resentment towards each other would stick around for decades to come. Courtney's song Violet is believed to be about Corgan, and in a live performance she introduced it by saying, "This is a song about a jerk. look. I hexed him, and now he's losing his hair. And if you were wondering, Billy was balding at the time. But fast forward to 1998, and we'd catch another glimpse of this resentment. Billy was referred to as a Svengali for Courtney, basically someone who shaped and influenced her artistry early on. However, Courtney was not having this. She said Billy didn't mold her, shape her band, and certainly didn't deserve credit for her creative voice. Although, this was still nothing compared to what would happen in 2010. Billy had an interview with Rolling Stone, where they mentioned Courtney's upcoming album possibly having songs they wrote together almost 20 years beforehand. That would be a real big problem, because I haven't given my permission. I have no interest in supporting her in any way, shape, or form. You can't throw enough things down in the abyss with a person like that. And not long after this, Corgan would go on a full-blown Twitter meltdown, accusing Courtney publicly of stealing music he wrote. Already insanely harsh, but Billy would take things even further. The world is aware of your lack of responsibility, as seen in the government taking away your parental rights. Only you could abandon such a beautiful, incredible child who is smarter than you, cooler than you, and better than you. And surprisingly, after all of that, Courtney didn't respond upset. All I am is nice about you, so if you want to be mean, be mean. This wasn't just some spat. The feud lasted years, was public, and took deeply personal shots. Since then, the two have somewhat found peace, with Billy stating they're not close, but there's no bad blood anymore. In 2006, VH1 launched a reality show called Supergroup, where rock legends would live together and try to form a band in just 12 days. The cast included Scotty Ian from Anthrax, Ted Nugent, Sebastian Bach on vocals, alongside many more. Honestly, the show was kinda awesome, but behind the scenes, Bach claimed this was a total nightmare. Supergroup was more about drinking wine and getting into fights. It didn't really have anything to do with music. Now, he'd go on to blame producers for setting up dramatic scenarios, but that's not all. According to Bach, Ted Nugent took part in trying to make him look bad on TV. See, Ted was straight edge and would constantly shame Bach for drinking. However, the clash wasn't entirely about this. Sebastian's glam rock image and progressive views were the exact opposite of Ted Nugent's hardcore conservatism, and they had a hard time getting along, especially when it came to topics like guns or hunting.
Does Ted wake up and shoot a cow and just fry it up, or what? Is that what he does?
Now, after the show, the two didn't really say much about each other until 2014, when Nugent took a jab at Sebastian publicly. He's a talented guy, but alcohol has taken a toll on him. Bach had been pretty chill up to this point about the feud, but fired back immediately at Ted. I don't relate to killing animals and calling it a sport. That's not what rock and roll is about to me. Ted's political beliefs and social opinions overshadow how great of a guitar player he is. A lot of people are disgusted by him. People don't like racism, but he says some things that are straight from the 50s. And Sebastian was not done there. His views are disgusting, and I don't care to hear him. Being racist is fucking weak. Now, this must have gotten to Ted, because he didn't speak about Bach again until 7 years later. In a 2021 interview, he was asked what he thought of Sebastian, and he was surprisingly chill. I love Sebastian. I really do. We don't see eye to eye on anything, but I still think he's a great guy. But when Bach was asked about Ted, and if he could ever play with him in a band again, the answer wasn't as kind. Ha! I don't think Ted and I could be in a band anymore. And that's an understatement right there. And while those two never made up, the same can't be said for our next rock stars, who have been going at it on and off for over 50 years. Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley founded Kiss together back in the early 70s, and these guys were partners in everything. The makeup, the marketing, the merchandise, and still, they didn't always see eye to eye.
I didn't like him. I thought he was full of himself, opinionated, brash, insulting. Gene's first comment to me was, "Oh, I hear you right, play me something." So he was a bit smug and arrogant and full of himself, and nothing has changed.
See, Paul truly cared for the music more than anything, but Gene was all about the brand and the fun that came with it. And very often, he'd prioritize women over rehearsing. Gene would spend hours on the phone with women when we were trying to work. And over time, Paul started to feel like the only one carrying the band. I felt like he was leaving me to do the heavy work, but continue to get paid. I felt very resentful and hurt. I thought he wasn't playing fair. The band would continue despite the problems, and Gene even got better as time went on, although Paul claims he changed a lot as a person. He became this caricature of himself, emotionally vacant. He became more interested in being Gene Simmons than being part of the band. Now, normally if a bandmate puts you on blast in dozens of interviews, things go nuclear. Yet, Gene didn't even attack back. "I love Paul like a brother. We don't always agree, but there's nobody I'd rather have shared the ride with." The two continued to have their issues, and while things weren't perfect, they stopped taking shots at each other for many years. Well, that was until 2017, when Gene tried to do something absolutely insane. He attempted to trademark the devil horns hand gesture, with fans all over the world losing it, and even Paul had to speak out. It just seems really wrong. I don't know why he pulled it. I don't know why he started that. It's nonsense. That's like trying to trademark the peace sign. I mean, come on. But no matter how weird things got between the two, one thing always brought them back together: Kiss. And in 2023, they wrapped up their final tour together. After 50 years of arguing on and off, they seem like they've truly found peace now.
I'm always happy if I run into Gene at the market, or I see Shannon's like my sister-in-law. It's really an extension of my family.
And that was more rock stars who have feuded with each other. Click on screen now to watch the 7 levels of rock star. Appreciate y'all tuning in.